right. We're going to come back for those seconds. And you don't have to, I can hear it too. No, that's a good thing. I know.
Okay. Okay. There you go. Gotta make it
God
comfortable.
is
That's all.
gracias.
It irritates me sometimes when you do that. Why,
Oh,
because when you answer the phone, it can't leave till
oh, okay.
right. 8, 5. Go.
Hey everyone, how is everybody? It is Wednesday. You are listening to 97.5 FM KDEE. I am Agent Key. We are selling Sacramento, and on today's show, we're talking about 8 home buying myths busted. That's the title of today's show. 8 home buying myths busted. We are busting out those home buying myths. I've said before, the past couple of times on this show, we've talked about the market conditions, how it's really tough if you're trying to buy. But if you don't give up and you stay competitive, eventually you'll win. If you've got a strong agent, if you've got a sound financing package, you just keep going and eventually you'll win. Now, that's for those of you who are out there shopping. For those of you who are not homeowners, if you are not a homeowner, if you want to be a homeowner, if you've never thought about home ownership, you should think about home ownership. It doesn't matter where you are, what stage in life, it's never too late. The ultimatum is that you are paying someone else's mortgage. Someone is building wealth off of you. And with that being said, going back to the fact that this market is tough, you could be preparing. Two of the main reasons that people don't buy is not enough saved for the down payment and closing costs. And the second reason is credit. Both of those solutions, both of those problems have solutions. And here, 97.5 FM on Selling Sacramento, myself and everyone that comes through this show, we are full of resources to help you get in the position that you need to be in to buy. So my guest on my show today is no stranger to those of you who are within any distance of my circle. We used to have a show on social media together. What was it called?
Girl, real talk.
Real Talk. That's right.
It took me a
Real
second.
Talk with Keisha and Tanisha.
Yes.
It's been a while, but she is
Humble
here with
beginnings.
us. Yes, yeah. And gosh, yes. But we always had a lot of fun sharing information on that show, and I'm glad that she is here today. She is super involved with different organizations. She just finished serving as the president of the Sacramento Realtors Association. Did a marvelous job there. She served, and are you still serving with the NAACP?
I am.
What is your role there?
I am the housing chair.
Housing chair. Yes, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
So, and even, I should say, equally as important, she is a mortgage professional. And she is with us today to help really lean into one of these myths that we dispel, as it is a great priority for our community. And that is funding, getting the money that you need to buy a home.
Yep.
So we're going to go down this list. We're going to try to get through all 8. We were laughing, talking about how much time we can just spend on one topic because, just how it is. So we're going to start with number 1. You need to make a 20% down payment. That is myth number 1.
Incorrect.
We've all heard it, right? And so you do not need to make a 20% down payment. Times have changed, and there are loan programs designed with first-time home buyers in mind. Even if you're ready to make a large down payment, it still may be in your best interest to weigh all options. Maybe you've been saving to get to that 20% and you're at 18% and you didn't know. You didn't know there was down payment assistance.
Right.
Now you know. It's going to be in your best interest to take a look at these down payment assistance programs and see if they pencil out better for you. Because my lender partners, such as Tanisha Broadway, can help you look at the bigger picture. I always say, just have the conversation, right, Tanisha?
Absolutely. You got to start somewhere. And I always say, I lead with this all the time. Don't let fear be the reason why you don't take advantage of homeownership. There are programs out here. 20% is a misconception, and that's going to give a lot of fear for people who don't know. I mean, that's a big feat. It's tough to save $10,000, let alone 20% to buy a home. So just
Right.
know that there are resources out here to get your foot in the door with only 3% down
Now,
or
give us
three.
a scenario. You
Yeah.
shared a scenario the other day with the group. Give us a scenario of a cost and then the money that they'd be looking at in comparison to try to bring 20% down.
Absolutely. I was using an example of like 500,000 just because prices are ticking and it's a good number to use. So if we're looking at a price point of, let's just say $500,000, and let's say the down payment on going conventional financing, which is a type of financing, is 15,000, right? So that's $15,000 you would have to come up with your down payment. But then there's closing costs on top of that, usually anywhere from 2 to 4% of the purchase price. So let's just say another 15 grand. So now we're talking $30,000 that someone would probably have to come up with to buy a home for $500,000. But see, if you get down payment assistance, if you're able to qualify for that, which I can help you do, then in a lot of cases, I can give you a majority of those funds needed to close. So that 30,000 out of pocket now becomes maybe 5,000 out of pocket, or even 4,000 out of pocket. It just depends. So as you can see, you don't need like a ton of money to even buy a home for $500,000 if you can qualify for some of my assistance programs.
Right. So it's much easier to see saving $4,000 or $5,000 than it is to see trying to save $30,000.
Correct.
That definitely gives us a window to see through. Now, you said if you qualify, what are some of the qualifications that you're looking for?
Absolutely. So in order to qualify for just kind of like an entry level down payment assistance option, and when I mean entry level, I just mean like what's the easiest qualifications to at least start looking at down payment assistance? Well, I'm going to need your credit score at least a 620. Okay. Now I can provide home loan financing for someone with a score as low as a 580, but you're bringing all your money to the table when we go that route. But if you got at least a 620, we can absolutely start building in some down payment assistance for sure. Now, the higher your score, the more down payment assistance opportunities become available at that point. If we can get you to a 640, there's more opportunity. A 660, 680, you'll be able to qualify for all the assistance programs.
So I like what you're saying, because you're saying that if I'm someone who's been on my job, and we're going to make the assumption that the time on the job matters as well, right?
Correct. Yeah,
What
definitely need you working for 2 years. And I'll just say real quick, I do a lot of home buyer education classes, and I get this question all the time. People are like, I haven't been with my same employer for 2 years. I'm not going to be able to qualify. And I'm like, no, that's not the guideline. Okay. You have to have been employed for the last 2 years, but it doesn't mean you have to have been with the same employer for 2 years. So as long as this person has 2 years of work history, and this is a W-2 person, then yeah, you've met the employment guideline.
That's great to know. Now, does it need to be 2 years in the same category, in the same career?
Great question.
What if I was a bus driver for a year and then I started managing, an office the next year?
No, I don't believe this is on our Mythbusters list, but it could be.
I know, right?
Right. Because you don't have to be in the same industry for 2 years. That is another misconception. You could be a bus driver today and then, become telesales tomorrow. And as long as you have that 2-year work history, we're able to work with that. Absolutely.
That is great. So what you're saying is that if I can show that somebody right now is listening to me and they've been working on a job for 2 years, they're making pretty decent money, but not necessarily enough to save $3, $4, $5,000 a month. They can probably put away $100 a month, or if they fix their budget, they could put away a little bit more. So, over a few years, they could save $3, $4, $5,000.
Yeah.
So if I am that person and I've worked on my job consistently 2 years, and my credit is good, because somebody listening is a really good steward of their money. They pay their bills on time. Yeah, somebody listening. There's somebody out there, they pay their bills, and they're frustrated with the housing market because they got good credit, they pay their bills on time, they've been working, and they can save at least a couple $100 a month, but they can't save enough for the down payment. You just described the person that would be perfect to probably get the most money out there, right?
Exactly. This is for that person. Absolutely. The working person who is just struggling to save a bunch of money, because we all have lives and emergencies that come up, and it could be a challenge. But if you just get that little bit of savings, and you can pull that savings or from 401k, if by the way, okay. It can also be a gift from a family member or friend. It doesn't necessarily have to be your own money. You can get some gift funds from someone. Now we got to make sure it's not cash, right? Because you can't use cash for the transaction. So it can't be mattress money. So I know some people sometimes feel some type of way about banks, and they're like, I'm not putting my money in this bank. Okay, I got you. But for the purposes of buying a home, you got to put that money in an account. So,
and you even have a solution though for mattress money, because mattress money can be used eventually, as long as you
can
redirect it
to
bank account
Let it sit in there. Yes.
Now, how long does that money need to sit in the bank?
So when you give me your bank statements, because I'm going to need them, I'm going to look at those bank statements, and if I see that your deposit your balance is, let's say, $5,000, I'm going to look at those deposits, and I'm going to see, are any of those cash deposits? If none of those are cash deposits, then I'm going to assume that $5,000 in there has been seasoned. So you could have put that money in there like last month, right? As long as I don't see a cash deposit in your transaction history, which we're looking for to source
if it's that snapshot.
Correct. So I would say 60 days is a good time for it to sit in there.
So someone listening right now, I like to take this information and make it very practical and life applicable. Someone listening right now has some money stored away in a cookie jar, in a safe, in a safe deposit box, under the mattress. That is quote unquote mattress money. If you are thinking about buying, do not contact the lender and say you're ready to buy. You're not. You need to go take that money, put it in the bank, let it sit for 60 days. And during that time, reach out to Tanisha and have the conversation about getting pre-qualified and the next steps that you need to take towards home ownership. Absolutely. Would you mind answering a couple questions that are coming up in the chat?
Please.
Okay, so we have Miss Shalon Woodard. She said, I've been told to save anywhere between $9,500 to $26,000 for a home around $310,000 to $350,000. What's your feedback about that?
So whoever told you to save that amount of money is someone who doesn't specialize in down payment assistance, clearly. So they're trying to put you in a position to be able to have all the funds needed to buy the home, which, again, if you're able to save that kind of money, that's awesome. It just gives you opportunity to leverage and figure out what you want to do. And it can make your offer even more competitive with, your earnest money deposit, which is Keisha's area of expertise to talk about. But the more money you have saved, the better, of course. But to be able to buy a home, you don't at that price point that you're talking about, you don't need all that saved, especially if your credit is eligible for down payment assistance. Yes, it's great, but you don't need all that saved.
I would say if you're trying to purchase at $310,000 or $350,000, you'd be better off taking $26,000 and applying it to your purchase price in this market. That's where that money is going to come in better.
Yeah.
Another question by Ms. Tara: what if you are retired with unearned income?
What I love, retired income or fixed income is what I call it. So any type of income, retirement, Social Security, alimony, child support, that fixed income, that's great. Awesome. I can use it all day long.
Awesome. And so she said that, oops, I clicked on the wrong one. Hers is 28 years, state of California. You just described me, Keisha. Yeah. Okay. There you go. Yes. Yeah. That's what we were talking about earlier. So we're going to take a break. But when we come back, We're going to finish. See how long it took us just to get
Girl,
through
one
the
myth.
first one.
You know,
We got 7 more to go, y'all, but we're
We're
going
gonna
to
get through
make it happen.
we're gonna
You're
do it.
listening to 97.5 FM KDEE. I am Agent Key with Miss Tanisha Broadway of Element Mortgage, and we are busting 8 home buyer myths. We will be right back. You're welcome, Miss Tara. You are so welcome.
Aw.
Hey, everybody who's watching, thank you for tuning in. And if you have any questions that you'd like to ask, put them in the chat. That's what we're here for, to get those questions answered for you. If you just want to say hi, let us know that you are watching. That's all good too. So let's see here. I do need to add that to the myth list.
Yes. I like this format. This format you're using.
Oh, the
Nice.
StreamYard?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I can see comments from YouTube, the Facebook business page, and my Facebook personal page, and Twitter, all in the chat. If wherever it's coming from. I don't think I've ever had a comment from Twitter, but if they did, I'd be able to see it. Okay, so I'm looking at our myths to make sure we answer the ones that are really important in case we don't get all 8.
Yes.
So number 2, definitely. I don't know if you got your list
Definitely.
in front of you.
I can pull it up right now.
Number 2 is it's cheaper to rent than own.
Oh,
We have to bust that one.
we have to bust that one.
Yeah.
That's a great one.
Oh, you have to pay your student loans first.
That's a great one too. I like the student loan conversation.
Okay. Your credit score needs to be perfect.
Definitely not. So that's a good one.
All lenders are the same.
Oh yeah, let's talk about that one.
Okay.
That's a good one.
You want to do that? Which one should we do next?
Let's see. I like that it's cheaper to rent than to own. I think that's a good one.
That's a good climate. Right now, the climate. Did I bring my pen? Is there a pen over there? Oh, you are so resourceful. Okay, so if we do that one next, then what should be the next one? I just want to make sure we touch on some really good ones, just in case.
Let me look at this list. So it's cheaper to rent. That's a really good one.
Yeah. Because I'll just name off the rest when we get to the end if we don't have time.
What's another myth? Student loans. Let's see. Perfect.
So after cheaper to rent, we should talk about. Hey, if you guys are watching and you hear me naming these off, if there's one that you want to hear more details on, type it in the chat. So
I like the credit score one is good.
Okay, so we'll do that one next. Okay, so 1, 2. Then after the credit score. Oh, all lenders aren't the same. Sunsaray said, talk about that one.
Hell yeah. Heck yeah.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3. So we'll have that one third after. So it's cheaper to rent. Your credit score needs to be perfect. All lenders are the same. We'll go in that order. Thank you, Sunsaray. Oh, hey, ladies. Hey, Miss Tanisha. It's Sunsaray, girl. Hey, what's up? That's a good one to discuss. It's getting harder to save. Yeah.
2, 9.
We're back. You're listening to 97.5 FM KDEE. I am Agent Key, and we are busting myths. We are busting 8 home buying myths. My special guest, Miss Tanisha Broadway of Element Mortgage. Hey. Y'all can't see her. She's not here in the studio, but she's super bubbly. And when she said hey just now, y'all had to see that. But I always describe Tanisha as a ray of sunshine when she walks in the room. Nothing can get her down. And so she's such a joy to be around. And I'm glad to have her on the show today.
Pleasure's all mine, darling. Thank you for having me.
And thank you all for tuning in online. We are online live right now on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. And if you Google Selling Sacramento, it should pull up a link somewhere. Or if you search for me on Facebook, Selling Sacramento on the radio, or Keisha Matthews -Realtor, you'll see the live link if you're trying to tune in that way. Or download the TuneIn app.
That's right.
And go to 97.5 FM KDEE, and we are on live, and you can listen to 97.5 FM KDEE live around the clock, 24 hours a day, if you download the TuneIn app.
Or simple radio.
Or who radio?
Simple.
Simple radio? Well, I don't know anything about Simple Radio. Are you talking about just simply turn on the radio?
No.
There's something called Simple Radio?
To me, it's better than TuneIn, actually.
I digress. Y'all know that my sound engineer, Mr. Dosty, aka the big homie, he's schooling me on how other options on how to watch. Thank you. So we're going to get back to the myths that we busted the first myth. The first myth was you need to make a 20% down payment. And Tanisha talked about down payment assistance programs. Well, specifically what scenarios look like and how they will help save you. And Tanisha, if they want to have the conversation with you about down payment assistance programs that might be available to them, how do they connect with you?
Absolutely. So you can connect with me on any social media, Facebook, Instagram, just look me up, Tanisha Broadway, or you can go to my website directly, which is www.tanishabroadway.com, or you can call me, text me, 916-671-6299. I'm always available anytime.
One more time with the phone number.
916-671-6299.
Awesome. And Tanisha is spelled the way it sounds, Tanisha.
I know somebody was not trying to call me right now as I'm doing this. I'm probably yes. Whoever just tried to call me, if you call me back, I'll answer, but I can't right now.
He's in the middle of a show, ladies and gentlemen. Send her a text. She'll get a text, right?
Yes.
What's the number again? One more time.
916-671-6299.
Send her a text and say, Tanisha, could you please call me when you're done with the show? Because I'd love to talk about my options.
Yes.
Homeownership and possibly qualifying for down payment assistance.
Absolutely.
We want to say hey to Miss Aretha Thompson. We see you, lady. She is watching. And she's the new president this year for the Sacramento Realtist Organization. And I just want to say just a shout out to everyone who's watching us right now online. Miss Tara, Miss Denisha, Shalon. If y'all are watching, there are people watching that haven't said anything in the chat. Give us a shout out, ask a question. We want to make sure that we answer your questions while we are online. This information is for you. We want to position you. That's what this is all about. Absolutely. Hey, Miss Judy. Hey, girl. Hey, Judy Lynn.
Hey.
Judy was almost my sister-in-law, y'all. I just had to say it. Wow. We love Judy. Once in the family, always in the family. Miss Tara. Hey, girl. So let's get back to busting myths. Number 2, it's cheaper to rent than to own.
That's a load.
Is that even a myth anymore?
Seriously.
It should not be. It is no longer cheaper to rent than to own. Not at all.
Not at all. Short term and long term, really.
If you are renting right now, my heart breaks to think about this. I know specifically there's a person in my mind who is living in a beautiful home in Greenhaven, bought 2 years ago. The house is amazing. Close to 2,000 square feet, maybe a little over 2,000 square feet. 1 story, koi pond.
Ooh.
Home has been remodeled.
Yes.
Beautiful windows from the floor to the walls to the ceiling.
Yes.
Mortgage $2,300 a month. Now I don't mean to make none of y'all mad.
Right.
But somebody listening to me right now is paying rent that is not in Greenhaven, that is not 2,000 square feet, that does not have a koi pond in the backyard for more than $2,300 a month.
Come on now. Okay.
Can I tell you that 5 years from now, 10 years from now, those dynamics are going to be higher and they're going to exist again. So if you getting comfortable where you are with renting, the longer you rent, the more you're going to pay. In the long run, you are better off buying. Even if
Yes.
you're like, I'm just gonna rent because I don't want the headache of having to all these, you're paying for it anyway in the rent. They build it into the rent.
They really do. And can I say this, Keisha? I don't
Please.
know how many calls I've gotten over the last, I'm just going to say 2 weeks. My landlord is selling the house. I have to get out immediately right now. I got to qualify for a loan right now. I'm like, oh, okay. First of all, we should have been talking a long time ago, because now you're trying to say you got to be out in 30 days.
Yeah.
And that's a problem that's going to happen when you're renting from someone, is they can sell it and then you have to go.
Especially in this market because, and I always say this, before the house is a shelter, it is also an investment.
Yes.
And if you are renting, the person who owns it is not looking at it as shelter. They're
No,
looking
they're
at it
not.
as an investment.
Absolutely.
When
And
they
you've
bought
been
it,
paying, look, you've been paying that rent payment for how many years? So what is their principal balance now? That person that's getting ready to thinking about selling, you didn't pay that loan down so much for them. Thank you, nice, wonderful tenant. Right? You've been
what is
paying.
the benefit? Why do they need to be nice and just keep it as a rental just to keep you in having shelter? Their goal was to make money. And if now is the best time to sell, guess what they're going to do?
They're selling.
There's a question from Miss Christina. How does a GI Bill help you in this market? Asking for a father.
So
How does it?
your father's a veteran, I'm assuming. So if he's a veteran, that's 100% financing. It's one of the best loans out there. That means he doesn't have to come up with a down payment at all. Okay. And he's going to have to come up with a little bit of money. There's definitely going to be some money involved, but the guidelines, the criteria to be able to qualify are just it's so much easier for a veteran to be able to qualify. Credit wise, income wise, debt to income ratio wise, they've made it much easier. So if he is looking to buy, call me. Let me look at his profile. Let's see what we need to do to get him into position and use his benefits.
And what's that number again?
Area code 916-671-6299.
One more time, because Christina went to get a pencil.
916-671-6299. Go ahead and text me, y'all. I'm getting texts right now. I'll call everybody after this.
Oh, thank you, Miss Teresa. Teresa posted, always my mission to listen to this show. Thank you. That is why we are here. We do this for all of y'all. We are in a position, in an environment where we actually were not allowed at one point. I just want you all to know that. If you didn't know, historically, we were kept away from this kind of information. And so now that we are in this space, it's our responsibility and our duty to make sure we share this information. I'm super thankful for 97.5 FM KDEE, for the California Black Chamber of Commerce Foundation, for allowing this station and this program and the other types of programming like this, that they use this station as a tool for, to get the information out to our community. That's what it's all about. So Christina says she's going to text you to set up a time to chat. Imani said, hey,
I sure will say that number again. I'm going to say it a heck of times before we get off of here. So area code 916-671-6299. Again, 916-671-6299. And I will say real quick too, Keisha, about the rent. When you buy a home, right, you get a 30-year fixed mortgage. If you're going down payment assistance, I got to put you in a 30-year fixed mortgage. What does that do? That's going to regulate your payments for the next 30 years with no surprises, essentially, right? So if you're renting, can that landlord increase your rent?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And will they? Not can they.
Will they?
Will they?
And will they, Keisha?
Yes, they will.
Okay.
Si se puede means yes, we can. That's what landlords say. Si se puede. Yes, we can. And they're going to do it because it's in their best interest. That's how they, and no fault against them. This is why I'm kind of caught with this battle going on between people who are mad that the rents are being raised, and then people who are owners who are, what am I trying to say? raising the rent. It's kind of like a fine
Correct.
wine, because again, it is an asset to them. It's an investment.
Mhm.
They're not looking at it as it's your shelter.
Correct.
And that's what you've got to really wrap your mind around.
Yeah.
You got to wrap your mind around, why am I renting?
Yes. Yes.
And if I'm choosing to rent, then this is what I'm buying into. I'm buying into the possibility that the rents might go up, and they have a right to raise the rent because for them, it's an asset.
Yes.
It's an investment, and that's how they protect their investment. They raise the rents for lots of reasons. You raise the rents because, look, what's happening right now. The economy is going up.
Absolutely.
Gas is, I paid,
Girl, don't even start with gas.
this morning it was $6 something a gallon.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I can't put the low stuff in my tank if I
No.
wanted to, because then
$40 gets you nowhere. Okay.
$50 to put 6 gallons in my car.
Terrible.
I remember back in the day, I could fill up on $20.
Okay.
That those days are gone. So the same thing with housing. It's only becoming more and more expensive, and you got to get on the right side so that you, just like Tanisha explained, you take control of your spending.
Yes.
So we've got some more comments coming up. I want to make sure we get it. It's business versus personal.
It really is.
That's what it comes up to. Will this live be up after? I need to have my dad watch this whole. Oh, will the live be up after? Yes, ma'am. It's going to automatically save in there, and you can send it to him so that he can watch the link, or you can play it for him. Denisha says, and they can raise them very high because housing is in need, renting and owning. Right. The only thing that prevents them from raising the rents too high now are because we've now got the rent cap, right?
Exactly.
But they're going to take advantage because they've got things to pay too. They've got to have money on reserve. I have owners that I manage properties for, and I have to look out for their best interests. So they ask me to assess when they should do rent raises and stuff, because so I have to pay attention to the economy. I have to pay attention to what's going on with the stock market and all of those things to be able to best advise them.
Yeah.
The condition of the property. So they have to make sure that they're saving money towards making sure they're keeping their investment valid.
Yeah.
Guess who's paying for all that? You, if you're renting.
Mm-hmm. There's no security. I mean, at the end of the day, if your goal is to build wealth, right, and home ownership, as we know, is the catalyst to do that, then how are you going to do that renting and paying someone else's mortgage, helping someone achieve their dreams by helping them pay down their mortgage, right? We need to put you into position to be able to buy. So don't be afraid. Don't be like, you know what? I got this little apartment. It's comfortable. I have all my amenities. Okay, but who can you pass that down to?
Right.
How can you build from that? You can't. And so when is the time to start taking it seriously? Now.
If something happens to you, let's say you don't even have anybody that you want to pass it down to. Let's just say something happens to you and you are in a financial bind.
Yes.
Whereas somebody else can leverage their home, you have nothing to leverage.
Right.
Hopefully you've been saving hand over foot, I was going to say hand over fist, to be able to take care of that. And then don't die.
Okay.
Hopefully don't die. You and got burial insurance and everything else, because now you're leaving the challenge of burying you on somebody else.
Right.
And I've seen some families just cremate you and put you in a box and send you on your way and take all your stuff.
Yeah.
So, if you want to prepare and really have a nice financial solid footing, which I believe most people do, home ownership is the best way to go. Shalon said, my rent continues to be raised over $100 each year. This year, I believe it is $189. This is crazy to increase someone's rent by this much, right? Tara said, if you are currently on the title of another house, but not on the mortgage, does this preclude you from getting first-time homebuyer assistance? That's a great question.
That's an amazing question. And the answer is yes. It does. So you got to come off of that, and you got to be off of it for 3 years.
So that is if you are on title of another house, you want to look at what the ramifications are if you get off title. What is the benefit to you being on title? You may want to have a conversation with a real estate attorney before taking yourself off title, because there is a huge benefit to being on title, depending on who you're on there, who else you're on there with.
Yes. Now
A lot of things.
let me add this to you real quick too. It doesn't mean that you can't qualify for other programs. It just means for traditional, like first time homebuyer programs, which are some programs that I can do. The requirement is if you're not a first time homebuyer, then you can't qualify for those programs. But don't be discouraged, because there are other programs. So what we can do is explore the non first time home buyer assistance programs, right? And then compare that with the first time home buyer ones to see if it's going to be a substantial difference for you. And then that way you can go into it knowing all of the facts.
That's excellent. And I wanted to recommend a real estate attorney for you to have that conversation with. I wanted to, I'm just going to give you her name because I don't want her phone to be flooded. But look up Delonda Coleman, Delonda Coleman, Coleman, and she's been on the show before. Get on her calendar. If you go to her website at dkcolemanlaw.com, D as in Delonda, K, I'm assuming that's a middle initial, and then Coleman, Coleman, law.com. And you can get right on her calendar and have that conversation with her. That's a very strategic decision that you need to make, and one you should not make too quickly.
Right.
So we have another question from Miss Tanisha Carlos. What are the financial benefits of buying land and having your home built from the ground? Financial benefits. Well, there aren't necessarily financial benefits from having land and having your home built. Usually the biggest benefit is that you get to customize. You get to pick where your house is going to be. You get to pick what the view is going to look like, and you get to build it the way you want. In this market, housing supplies are super expensive. The cost of land is going to be pretty expensive. So you want to try to get a really good deal on the land. Hopefully that is helpful. There are the other benefit, there actually one benefit that's an indirect benefit is that there are a lot of plans when it comes to architectural design that have already been pre-approved by the city, where if you can find an architect who has plans like that have already been pre-approved, or go down to the city and see the plans that they have that have already been pre-approved, it saves you on time and money instead of having to have an architect draw something completely different. And then you can do some, semi-customizing on those plans. Hopefully that's helpful. Tara said, wow, 3 years. Wow, thank you. And then Delonda Cohen, you're welcome. You are very welcome. Is there more cost to doing it this way? There could be, because you'd then be customizing. You'd be doing a lot of customizing. But one of the ways, again, of saving is to find plans that have already been pre-approved by the city, approved, I should say, by the city, where you don't have to go through all the red tape of getting all of that approved, and then doing some semi-customization on those plans. You're very welcome. You are very welcome. Should we get to the next myth that we're going to do?
Let's do it.
Your credit score needs to be perfect. Your credit score does not need to be perfect.
Sure doesn't. That's another misconception. People, you guys, you don't have to have great credit to buy a house. I'm telling you, you don't. And your bad credit or your not great credit may be different than someone else's mentality or thought process of bad credit. So the first thing we have to do is come see me so we can first see where your credit's at. Like I mentioned earlier, you can buy a house with a credit score as low as a 580, right? You can. But again, like I mentioned before, that's going to require you to bring your own money to the table. So if you are someone who just happens to be in possession of a nice chunk of money, maybe you've just been saving really well, you've been making responsible choices, or you were able to get a gift from someone, or somehow you just got a nice chunk of money, but the credit's not quite there. And you're in a scenario where you're like, I'm ready to buy now, just based off of where my life is. I want to buy right now. Then yeah, with a 580 score, we can knock it out all day long. Doesn't mean you have to have no, blemishes. You've got some little collections, things like that. Now, of course, what's on your credit is going to determine the true eligibility. Is, how many collections, or what are the lates looking like? I'm going to have to really dive in, but just based off of score alone, guideline wise, a 580 will get your foot in the door for sure.
And then once you're looking at that credit score, I've seen this happen time and time again. You can make suggestions because you do different scenarios to say, hey, if you did this, in 30 days, you'd be here. You can get more money for the down payment, or you can come in with less. You don't have to, right?
Absolutely. So I do something called a credit rescore. So there's different levels of credit repair, credit enhancement, or credit help. And so my role as a loan officer is like that initial, let me see what's going on, and can I identify any opportunity to help? And if I see something like possibly manipulating some balances, and let's say, for example, you've got a credit card, it's maxed out, you owe $5,000, it's the $5,000's a limit. And if I do a rescore and then I see that maybe you pay that balance down to 2,000, how many more points could you get by doing that? And I'll look at all of the liabilities on your credit to determine if there's any way that we can adjust those. And I'll give you what the plan says. Hey, pay these off, or pay these down to this, and then you can get this amount of points, and maybe go from a 580 to a 620. I do this all day long. And then of course there's going to be those extensive circumstances where the credit rescore process doesn't work for your scenario. Then we need to connect you with a real credit person who can get you to that point, which I can connect you all day long. So yeah, I definitely will be like that first stop shop on looking at the credit to see what direction we need to go in.
And holding their hand through the process.
Holding their hand. Yeah. I'm not one of these loan officers, which we have a myth about lenders. I'm not going to just walk away and say, you know what, figure your life out. Call me when you got it together. No, I'm going to be here to hold your hand from the day that your mindset is, I want to buy a home, to the day you're getting the keys.
And that's a nice segue. But before we leave the credit score needing to be perfect, I also want to add this, because this is the day and age that we're living in. If your credit score needs work to buy a home, chances are it needs work to rent a home.
Mm.
Can we just say that?
Mm.
I know a lot of people who are listening right now who are struggling with trying to find a place to rent, and are looking for companies or owners who will not give as much consideration to the credit score. And if you are improving your credit score to rent, you better lateral on over and buy instead. It makes better financial sense.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to throw in here that Christina said, I worked with Blue Water Credit. She put up the praise hands and the clap, clap, clap. That is my go-to credit restoration company, Jeff Sipes. He is actually going to be a guest speaker at our real estate and wealth building conference this 25th and 26th of this month. So if you're not registered, go to myanchoronline.com and get registered, because Jeff's going to take care of you and his crew's going to take care of you. Shalon said, I worked with Continental Credit. So there are a lot of different companies out there, but you definitely, if you start working on that credit to rent, that is the definition of insanity.
It sure is. And you know what's interesting? The way that rental applications work and qualifying for rent is different than qualifying for a home loan financing. In fact, I've had so many people in my career not be able to rent, can't get through a rental application, and I was able to pre-approve for home loan financing because what we look at is very different. So whoa. I'm just saying.
Whoa. And so let me say this too. We're going to talk about lenders, but also if you're trying to rent a home, every time you try to rent a home, you're going through a different person, a different process every single time.
Mm-hmm.
Versus when you go to get pre-qualified and pre-approved for a home, You got one lender, no matter how many houses you look at. You go through
Exactly.
the process, you get pre-approved one time. That's it. You're getting pre-approved to look at as many houses as you want to,
Yep.
versus every time you try to rent, every time you apply for a rental project property, what are you doing? You're paying a rental application fee,
Mm-hmm.
right? Every single time. And you're dealing with somebody on the other end who may or may not be exercising the proper guidelines when taking your information.
Yep.
They might just be collecting application fee money. I've seen it a lot. And I tell people, you make sure you circle back to them and say, hey, if I didn't get approved for it, y'all need to pony up my application fee, because by law, you're required to do that if you didn't run my credit. And if you did run my credit, I need you to shoot me over a copy ASAP, because I'm entitled to that, as well as evidence. I need to see the receipts, that you literal receipts. You can ask them to send you the receipts
Show
of
me
them
them receipts.
processing your application fee. And if they can't produce receipts, or as a matter of fact, the thing that stops them in their tracks is because I tell people, do a little research, dig in and find out who that person's broker is. If it's an agent or a property management company, they are attached to a license with the DRE. You can go to the DRE website, look up that license, find out who that broker is, dig into that information. I tell people, text me, send me a message and tell me, this is the address, here's the agent, find out who the broker is, because here's what you do next. You shoot over an email to that agent, include their broker, you let them know that they just violated fair housing law. And if they don't want a lawsuit, because that would be your next step, that you're going to contact the fair housing department. And I've had a client do before. Fair housing was like, well, how you want to do this? Because we can sue them.
Okay.
My client said, I just want my money back, because she had to pay over $100-something to process applications, because the agent on the other end said, my client accepted an application, because the agent told her that her application was reviewed and it didn't look like it was going to be a problem. They were going to get the place. Then the next day she tells her, oh, my client went with another owner because your family size was too big or something. That is a direct violation of AFA. Familial size? Are you kidding me? I was like, oh my God, she did not put that in writing.
Wow.
She put it in writing. I said, well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to email her and her broker and tell her to shoot your money back ASAP. 1 hour later, she sent me the Cash App confirmation where the agent sent her money back. Right?
Okay.
So yeah, hey Ryan, y'all know Ryan Lundquist is watching today. He says the rental market is so tight right now. It's no joke to find a rental. Yeah, it's just as tough as the housing market. So if you are getting yourself prepared for rental, you're going to shine.
Yes.
If you try to apply for a mortgage application,
Come
if you
on now.
are prepared to rent, you are prepared to buy, and you're going to take out financially better. Christina says, I seen one property collect application fees for 2 months. I can't say on the air what the rest of that says. But yes.
But girl, I feel you, Christina.
Yes.
Okay.
Ryan says people don't understand fair housing issues. It's mind-blowing. He's right.
He is right.
And so that's another reason why we exist, because to be transparent and to help you understand that you don't have to, if you feel taken advantage of, chances are someone is probably trying to take advantage of you. Yeah. And you don't have to comply with that to get into a housing situation. You don't have to settle for less than because someone is trying to take advantage of you. Reach out to us. That is what we're here for, right?
Yes. Absolutely. So, and as the housing chair of the Sacramento NAACP, we have a whole department dedicated to help you. So shout out to SAC NAACP, which, by the way, if you guys want information about resources that the NAACP has, you can go to sacnaacp.com, and there's information there and resources. So
yes, SAC NAACP still alive, still working on your behalf. Yes. We're going to take another break, and I'm so glad we numbered these Mythbusters in order of importance, so that when we come back from the break, we're going to try to get down to one more, then we'll rattle off the rest of them. Maybe we got to have a part 2. Maybe we'll just
We'll
do a
have
part
to.
two. Yes. We're going to come back. You're listening to 97.5 FM KDEE. I am Agent Key with Miss Tanisha Broadway of Element Mortgage. You're listening to 97.5 FM, and we'll be right back. Yes. So all lenders are the same will be our next one that we tackle. And I like the segue.
Right.
It just, the amount, the lack of, what's the word I'm looking for? There's nobody out there policing the rental industry.
No.
Really. And so people
No.
don't realize how much more of a headache the rental industry is
Yes.
than the home buying industry. They're
Yes.
both very tough right now, right?
Very tough,
Full
yeah.
transparency. But
Yeah.
if you had to participate in one team versus the other,
Come on now.
prep yourself for the home buying process versus,
especially if you're
the
connected
rental.
to the right people. It'll make your process so much more smoother, enjoyable, and we'll get into that.
Yeah, and yeah, because that's the other part too, is that even though the home buying process is a better area to dive into and to get worked out, you still have your bad players.
Definitely.
And you want to make sure that the team that you team up with is really going to protect you. No one's perfect.
No one's perfect.
They're definitely going to do, if you connect with the right people,
Yeah.
they're solution oriented, they're professional. Even a new agent, as long as they have someone they can go to for authentic guidance and instruction, but they're hungry to really serve you very well, even they will do a marvelous job and then get you into that home and you not have to be a renter. So
Yeah.
if y'all are listening and watching, that's definitely going to be the best route. We got some questions popping up here. Let's see. There are some shady lenders out there. Yes.
She went right to it. There sure are, unfortunately, even still in this market.
Yeah, unfortunately. How do you determine a potential buyer's price point if they're on a fixed income? Great question.
It's a great question. I go about that the same way I would go with someone who's not on a fixed income. I'm basically looking at what your income is, and then I'm looking at your debts that you're paying out every month. So, and those debts would only be things that are appearing on your credit report. So it would be like a credit card or a car note, a student loan payment, an IRS debt, an alimony payment, which would count, or child support. If that's on credit, that would count. So we're figuring out something called the debt to income ratio. That's the term that we use. So I'm basically taking that fixed income number, that dollar amount, that gross dollar amount, and I'm dividing that by your outgoing debts, and it gives me a percentage. And from there, I can figure out how much house you can qualify for. So I need to first know how much that fixed income you're receiving is. And just real quick on the fixed income, it's got to be expected to continue for at least 3 years. That's the rule with it. So
coming back from the break.
What would you say?
We're coming back from the break.
Oh, okay.
We are back. You're listening to 97.5 FM KDEE. I am Agent Key, and I am here today with my special guest, Miss Tanisha Broadway of Element Mortgage.
And how y'all doing?
Yes. Now she's on cue. We're myth busting today. 8 home buying myths busted. We got to number 4. I think we got 4. We're on 4.
We're good.
Yes. This next myth, that all lenders are the same. Can we talk about that for a minute? So rates and fees vary by lender. Some charge upfront fees and others don't. Some pay their employees a commission, resulting in an added cost to you, while others don't. You have to do your research. You may even find that some lenders have access to down payment assistance like Tanisha, or local loan programs that can provide thousands in savings that other lenders don't. And I want to throw this in here too. Lenders, mortgage officers, in a lot of instances, as you just heard, are independent and operate independently and can sell, quote unquote, the programs or push the programs they want to push. That means that if you don't fit in their box, they almost act like a big bank. I call them box banks. like the Chases and the City Mortgages and the Wells Fargos and Bank of Americas. They have specific loan programs that they create that they feel best fit the needs of their clientele. And if you don't fit within that criteria, you don't fit. They can't serve you. But if you go to a mortgage lender who's a broker, just similar to going to a car lot, they're going to go through the car lot company. You know, they go through 3, 4, 500. You walking out of there with a car.
Okay.
They're going to find a lender if they're from Guadalajara.
They're going to find you something.
22% interest rate. They're going to find you a loan. Mortgage brokers are very similar in that they have the flexibility to find the program that best fits you. And then when it comes down to the individual lender professional, unfortunately, a lot of lenders just lean to the program that works best for them and the knowledge that they have. Many of them don't do a lot of the extra work like Tanisha does to find these programs that will fit what I like to call the most vulnerable buyers.
Exactly.
Buyers that a lot of lenders won't even waste their time with. And that's not a good thing, because a lot of those lenders are in positions of power or positions of influence.
Absolutely.
And if you're listening, if you're a lender and you, or even an agent, if you are a lender or an agent and you are not familiar with down payment assistance, where you can promote the individuals when they get into contract and it's a contract using down payment assistance, you are at that moment the gatekeeper. Mm-hmm. You are the one that has the influence to get that owner to accept that person's offer. If you're an agent and you are not aware and educated about the process, you're going to give misinformation to your seller about that loan. Those are some of the myths. That could be a whole other show.
It sure can.
Bust the myths on down payment assistance.
Mm-hmm. I love that, actually.
And we'll have to direct that up to all the gatekeepers. If you're a gatekeeper, you need to watch. Because some of you all are out there telling homeowners that the process takes too long, that there's too much red tape. Mm-hmm. And the reality is you just don't know enough to promote it.
Exactly.
Tanisha, how long is it taking you to close your down payment assistance transactions?
21 days or less.
Say it again for the people in the back.
21 days or less. There's no added time just because you're getting assistance. This whole lender situation. Now, listen, no shade to any lenders out there, because you got families to feed. I understand you're doing what you need to do, whatever. But at the end of the day, it's you have to understand, listeners, that not all of us are created equally. Okay. My business as a first-time home buyer specialist is down payment assistance. And so when I'm dealing with first-time home buyers and down payment assistance, that's a certain type of person. There's a certain type of hand-holding. There's a certain type of communication that has to be had throughout the transaction to ensure that you're going to have a successful, stress-free as possible transaction. So it's important.
Competitive.
Correct.
You're not just going through the motions just to say you're a specialist. No. You specialize in it because you lean towards their needs and actually getting transactions closed, because this is not a game for you either. This is how you feed your family.
This is how
you got to make sure you're producing a product that's going to work.
Exactly. And I want to touch on, you mentioned broker. So I'm a mortgage banker. So I'm not like a Chase or a Wells, but I'm also not a broker where I can send your loan to 50 different places. So my company, Element Mortgage, APM, we are the money. So we would fund the loan. Right now, I do have
correction. Honey. We are the money.
And so all we do is mortgages, right? So I don't do checkings and savings and CDs. I do just loans, only loans. And I specialize in just loans. And so in my company, they have a very well-oiled machine to where we're able to kick these out in 21 days with down payment assistance. And not all loan officers understand, like to work with down payment assistance because of those misconceptions out there. Also, too, sometimes some lenders' compensation is affected if they have to go down payment assistance, and so they're going to shy away from even learning about that or educating their borrowers on those options because it's going to affect their bottom line. For me, that's not how I do business.
We are up against the clock. Yeah. We gotta come back and do a part 2, Tanisha.
Oh, we gotta come back. Okay.
It's almost out, so I would probably get in trouble because we're coming up on 2 o'clock here. Don't you be ready to take the? You gotta cover for me. Carla said, "How do I know if I qualify for down payment assistance?" Tanisha, give us your phone number one last time.
916-671-6299. That's 916-671-6299. Call me, guys. Text me, guys.
We gotta go. Thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. And remember, if you are doing what you were created to do, I'll see you at the top.
Bye.
Thank you guys for watching. And I am so sorry we had to get off the air. Carla, did you get that number? Tanisha, I'm going to type your number in the chat.
Okay. You see where we got through what 4 miss?
I knew it. I already knew it. Look, let me try to get say your number, Tanisha. 916.
Yes. 916-671.
671.
6299.
6299. I should have asked somebody to type it in the chat for me. They're usually so good about doing that. Really good listeners. Tanisha Broadway Element Mortgage. I need a 2-hour show. Yes,
girl,
I do. So with 2 hours, we definitely would have got through everything. But there's her contact info, everybody. Oh, okay, Carla, yes, you got it. I should ask you to type it earlier. But thank you all for tuning in. Tanisha, we do got to come back and do part 2. You've been amazing, my dear.
I appreciate you always.
She was suffering from allergies today, and she still did the show. She was supposed to come in, and she jumped on the virtual for us. So thank you all. Thank you.
I'm high on Claritin right now, so you know.
You would never know. See? All right, Miss Tanisha.
All right, well,
love.
Thank you, Keisha.
Okay, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Bye.